in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes this as alleviating human society from the three gates to hell. What are the three gates to hell? Trividham narakasyedam, dwaram nashanam atmanam, kamam krodham tatha lobham, tasmat etat trayam tajit. Nowadays it has become fashionable for people to say, I am spiritual, not religious. So let me address that point and share with you the connection between the two. If you look at it, the UN data always shows that any kind of animal killing and a diet which is animal based, animal or meat based diet, non-plant based diet, it is almost 10 to 100 times the increase in carbon dioxide emissions. If you are expressing your love to me, you can express that love even through a simple means like leaf, flower, fruit and water, and I will accept it.
Gauranga Dasji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much for being with me and our family here at our home in Bushi. I know we have you for a very short and precious time, but it will be something that I always cherish for the rest of my life. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Hanumanji, for all the wonderful work all of you are doing with Dharma and protecting Dharma. It's the need of the hour. Keep it up.
What do you mean by Dharma? What does Dharma mean to you?
Dharma basically has four aspects. One is stability in one's identity, which is called sthirata. Second is purity and proclivity, which is shuddhata. Third is consistency in one's activity, which basically means that you engage in seva. And fourth is clarity in your ability to communicate, which is pashtata. So all of these elements become part of what is known as Sanatan Dharma, which is the eternal duty of the soul.
There's this beautiful moment at the end of the Mahabharata when Yudhishthira Maharaj is taking care of a dog over going to heaven. And I always have felt that this is such an incredible example of compassion being a true essence of Dharma. In a world where war is prevalent, in fact, 99% of our military spending versus peace building is just 1%. How do we turn that around? How can compassion be the true driver?
In a world with 8 billion population, we have almost only 2 billion of the world which has disposable income. That's the reality of today. More than 6 billion are underprivileged, below poverty line. They seek support, help. And all of this has happened because practically 3 to 5% of the world's population controls almost 60 to 70% of the world's wealth and assets. And therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes this as alleviating human society from the three gates to hell. What are the three gates to hell? Trividham narakasyedam, dwaram nashanam atmanam, kamam krodham tatha lobham, tasmat etat trayam tajit. The three gates to hell is lust, which is obsessive compulsive desire to control, enjoy, and exploit for one's own enjoyment. And that's where the word Ravana comes. Ravana literally means one who is willing to give any amount of pain to others, make others cry for one's own pleasure and selfishness. And therefore that's called kama. Second is unfulfilled kama results in krodha or anger. And frustrated desire results in expression of one's frustration in various kinds of violent ways expressed through mind, through words, and through action. And more people have died in the last 100 years than in the past 1900 years in the world's history. So as technology is growing and our means of accomplishing things with technology is increasing, our means to hurt people is also growing. So technology and technological advancement by itself is not sufficient for human society to pat itself on the back, because as much as technology has the power to heal, it also has the power to harm and hurt, because ultimately the person who's unleashing the technology is the human being, and the human being has these tendencies of krodha or anger. And therefore, that anger, the kama and krodha also unleashes upon nature. And after the Chernobyl disaster, when human beings were stopped from entering into that several square kilometers around the Chernobyl plant for almost 30 years. Post 30 years, when they went and reviewed that site, they realized that the whole area around the Chernobyl became a biodiversity hotspot. A place which nobody could recognize was filled with flora and fauna which nobody even imagined which could regenerate. And the credit for that was only one thing: humans didn't enter. So, therefore, human beings have the power to heal, but if their heart is filled with lust and anger, then they can create a lot of harm also. And so, the third thing which Krishna describes is kama, lust, krodha, anger. Third is lobha, which is greed. Unfulfilled lust leads to anger, and fulfilled lust leads to greed or lobha. And therefore, just as there are 70,000 hospitals in India to treat people's physical pain, there are also almost 2 million temples in India to treat the pain in the mind. And religious places of worship are actually meant to act as places of healing for transformation of the mind, of the heart, of one's intentions. And therefore, I spoke about this 4-point framework of sthirata, shuddhata, spashtata, snigdhata. All of these are very important elements of transformation. And that's what Sanatana Dharma tradition was all about: how to excavate the real true qualities of the soul. And all of those qualities of the soul, Sushila, Sahishnu, Shanta, Vadanya, Gambhir, Madhur Vachan, Madhur Cheshta, Mahadir, Sabar Samman Karta, Koren Sabarit, Kautilya Matsari, Hinsa na Jane Tarachit. These are all natural qualities of the soul which are there in its healthy state. There is a superimposition of disease on that soul by the conditioned mind, and the whole idea of spirituality is to regenerate those original qualities. Just like oil is there within the earth, then you drill and excavate that oil. Like that, all those natural qualities of compassion, of gratitude, of fortitude, of resilience, humility, tolerance, everything is there within. Once you go through the process of drilling, which is actually boring through the hard crust of proprietorship, enjoyership, controllership, and then you go deep inside, and then all of those natural qualities come out. That's why all of the religious places of worship are concerning connecting the soul with the super soul, and that in our tradition is called yoga. Yoga, Chitta, Vritti, Nirodha. Prime Minister Modi did a lot of work to ensure that in the UN in 2014, June 21st was declared as the International Day for Yoga. And thanks to that, all over the world, millions of people practice yoga and at least become aware of the power and impact of yoga on June 21st every year as part of being part of the UN ecosystem. So it has transcended the national identity of just being something in India for Indians, but its global appeal has grown tremendously.
I love that. I was recently in Abu Dhabi and I visited the Louvre Museum, and they had a beautiful exhibition of universal religions. The word Sanatana was even there, universal.
Wow.
But it included only Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity. And it considered Sanatana Dharma to be a localized tradition. It's very interesting. And when we self-reflect, when Srila Prabhupada said Bharatvarsha is the whole world, or it's said in many of the texts I've seen similar kind of expressions that, we have this universal outlook. May all beings be happy and free from suffering. So that I've always felt that that's a very unique and beautiful view that we have to share universally with all living beings. So could you speak to that around, because I can see tremendous energy in you and focus, and also your book, you have these books on habits and focus and energy, but often we find, at least members of the younger generation, sometimes lacking that ability to energize themselves or find that. And maybe it's what you spoke about, being focused on desire or qualities that are not so universal or not so powerful. Could you speak to that? Because I also see Srila Prabhupada's example of energy, of hard work, and late in the night or early in the morning working. How can I develop that high energy?
Nowadays, it has become fashionable for people to say, I am spiritual, not religious. So let me address that point and share with you the connection between the two. So spiritual is like healthcare.
Okay.
And religion is like allopathy, homeopathy, naturopathy, the different types of healthcare systems which provide healing to the body. So like that, we have 31% Christians in the world, 23% Muslims, 15% Hindus, 8.5% Buddhists. But these are all actually, if you look at it, various kinds of healthcare systems for enabling a healthy, healed mind.
Right.
And that's the whole idea behind all of these different religious processes and traditions. Now, because the exact way in which these need to be communicated is not being done, so people are having misconceptions about what they are. So therefore, what is important is for people to realize that just like for maintaining a robust, strong, resilient, disease-free physical health, the doctors recommend improvement in immunity, physical immunity.
Okay.
Similarly, to keep a mind which is free from anger, pride, lust, envy, anxiety, stress, depression, we have to also increase the immunity for the mind. And the process for increasing the immunity to the mind is the process by which the mind is ring-fenced from all kinds of attacks it will face all through the day, from morning till night. And that process of ring-fencing is, in a simple term, known as meditation, which is an exercise for the mind. And if you unpack that simple term and want to know more details, then there are various kinds of meditational processes which are defined. So Karma Yoga is like purpose, Jnana Yoga is wisdom, Ashtanga Yoga is meditation and perfection, Bhakti Yoga is love. So all of these processes are nothing but ways by which one can connect with the Supreme within the Hindu tradition. Like that, within the Islamic tradition, within the Buddhist tradition, Christian tradition, various methods are there by which you actually begin the day with prayer and meditation. The specific nature of prayer may be different, but the bottom line behind all prayers across all traditions is very simple, that my real identity, which is unchanging and eternal, is that of a soul. And the soul is connected to the Supreme, who is also eternal, through a bond of eternal service. And therefore, how do I engage myself in that eternal service? So, meditating on that eternal identity, aspiring for that eternal service and engagement, and then ultimately experiencing that joy when engaged in that eternal service is what spirituality is all about. The ways to experience that is given to us through various religions. So those who understand the core essence behind it will never get into any kind of conflict, fight, or argumentation, or in the methodology of saying mine is better than yours or whatever. So multiple processes can exist simultaneously when you know what is the purpose behind it.
Today we're in a world where, like you said, war is one of the easiest methods to execute whatever your desire is or whatever your need is, but also millions of farm animals being slaughtered every single day. We have now mammals on Earth, 96% are farm animals, versus only 4% are wild and human beings. So out of 96% now, only 4% are wild mammals. Only 4% left. So where do we stop for our children, for the future generations? It's likely that within 2 generations, there won't be any more wild mammals on Earth. And that's only one indicator. We're now crossing 6 planetary boundaries, according to the latest science, not even spiritual forecasting of Kali Yuga and the way things work out. How can we increase non-violence?
Yeah, it's a fact that out of the 8 billion people on the planet, hardly 400 million are vegetarians. And if you look at it, the UN data always shows that any kind of animal killing and a diet which is animal based, animal or meat based diet, non-plant based diet, it is almost 10 to 100 times the increase in carbon dioxide emissions. So in a country like South Africa, they have 228 kg per capita of meat consumption. In EU, it is almost 110 kg. In South Africa, it is 220 kg. In US, it is 128 kg. India is still at 3.1 kg per capita. So although the research has shown that 83% of all of our carbohydrate needs and 63% of our protein needs are taken care by cereals, but still there seems to be a lack of understanding of this. And therefore, I would say that when you're part of a solution, you may be in a minority, but your convictions will speak for itself over a period of time. And today, we can see that even the vegan movement is growing widely. So whatever may be the intentions behind, but all like-minded forces should collaborate and try to protect the dignity of human society and try to grow the feelings of compassion, care, and mercy towards other beings. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Vidya Vinaya Sampanye Brahmani Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shopakecha Pandita Samadarshi. The real symptom of enlightened person is his equanimity, his sense of equality, his sense of inclusion of others. And that is demonstrated through his empathy towards all souls. And therefore, the purpose behind all of our teachings from the Bhagavad Gita and other literatures is to try to invoke these qualities within the human society. And I think if we are not very sensitive to the changes which are happening around us, very soon we will lose control over the way things are going.
In the Mahabharata, Sri Krishna says Dharma is love for all beings. So I know we have a short time to speak here, but I want to spend a little bit of time on love. Ultimately, we've talked about many things in this short conversation, but ultimately for me, it all comes down to that idea of love and how to be divinely connected. Could you share something on love? And imagine we're speaking to a young person in the UK who's, working in the world or entering into that thing, but love is not something we're taught about at schools. We don't discuss it. So
Krishna says in the Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yomi Bhaktya Prayachati Tadaham Bhakti Upahritam Ashnami. If you are expressing your love to me, you can express that love even through a simple means like a leaf, flower, fruit, and water. And I will accept it. And what does that love actually mean? Service without selfish consideration. So in every relationship, there could be scarcity, impediment, discomfort, unhappiness. But still that relationship continues. And love doesn't mean pleasure. Love means pain. The willingness to experience and expect pain to give pleasure to one we are serving. So this is an alien concept for those who have not experienced it, not accepted it. And therefore, how can there be a deep pleasure involved in this kind of selfless service? It is till you taste the ice cream, you don't know what the ice cream tastes like. So since, most people here are looking for experience, when they start getting an experience of the deep-seated satisfaction one gets through selfless service, then they'll realize what the whole principle of love is all about. So love is not selfish, love is selfless. Love is not pleasure, love is pain. Love is not egocentric, love is empathy seeking towards other beings. So that's the whole idea of love. And I thank you very much for inviting me for this discussion today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.